Ready for part two? Here we go. Okay, so when we last left our story, we had found the cave and we tried to cross the bridge, but we couldn't. And it was just this huge, wide chasm that went down so deep we couldn't even see the bottom. So we're like, there's no way we can get across this. So we decided we had to leave, and we did.
And you went home and built a zip line.
Well, no zip line's going to work because for a zip line to work, you have to be able to travel down, and the cavern was straight across. There was a bridge, so you can't zip across. You have to go down, so that won't work.
No, it would.
Well, here's what happened anyway.
No, it would. You could have a little ball that only a few things could go into, and it would defy so it would go like boom, and you could have like a dome over here that could have like zero gravity in it, so you could just float and you could just pull yourself on the line.
Well, that would be nice for sure. That would have been nice. They didn't have zero gravity stuff back then, though, unfortunately. Not when I was young. So we went back and we tried to think about this. And the next day, we all decided we'd get up early and we'd see if we could maybe like throw a rope across or something like that. Well, I get up, Eric gets up, Bobby, we went over to Bobby's, Dell was there, and the girls were missing. And we're like, well, where's Cindy and Angie? So we went to their house and knocked on the door, and Angie answers the door. And she said, Cindy doesn't want to go. And we said, why? And she said she won't talk to me. She's upstairs crying, and she's sitting in the attic. They had a finished attic. You know what that is? Like, not like our attic where you get up there and it's all like fiberglass and building stuff. It's finished. Like, it looks like an apartment. It's just an extra room, basically.
So like Emma's attic?
Yeah, that's right. Like Emma's, right? Which had been turned into like their playroom. So she was sitting in there. But so a lot of attics will have these like access ports so that the workers can get to air conditioning and stuff like that still. Anyway, so we all went up there and Cindy's in there crying and we're like, what's going on? What happened? And she said, there's no point in going on. And she was like sniffling and we're like, what are you talking about? And she's holding something. And we're like, what are you holding? Cindy, what's going on with you? And she said, they're taking our homes. And we're all like, what are you talking? She hands us this. There's two things. She's got two things. And she hands us, first of all, there's a letter or something that the city sent. There's a builder coming in. They're tearing down all of our homes unless we can pay this crazy amount of money to save our homes, which our parents didn't have money back then. So that's impossible. And then I see this like old, like really old piece of like rolled up paper. Looked like it was, maybe about yay big and long, like a poster would look. And I'm like, what is that? And she goes, I don't know. And so it had this like old piece of string holding it together. So I happened to grab that and unwrap it and look, and I roll it out. And it's like this, it's not even paper, it's like this kind of cloth. And I roll it out, and we're looking at this, and we're like, that is weird. It almost looks like our neighborhood. But it was a map, like before there were houses or anything, just of the land. And in this one little section in the grid, there was an X. And we're like, what does this mean?
Treasure!
Right. So, well, I spoke up. I'm like, I think this is a treasure map. And they're like, no, that only happens in the movies. That's not true. And I said, well, I'm going to figure out where this X goes, and I'm going there. And they said, well, what if the pirate ship has treasure? And I'm like, well, what if that's where this X is, and that's what the map is for? So then we went back to the fact that, and then Cindy kind of perked up at this point. She realized there might be a way to save our houses, and so I said, well, we're back to the problem of how do we get across where that bridge was, and we all thought about it. We're like, we really don't know. We can try throwing a rope across, and Dell's really strong, but how do we tie the rope on the other side in order to do that? There was nothing to really hold it onto it.
I thought you said Bobby was strong.
No, Dell, well, Bobby was the oldest one, so he was strong, but Dell was notoriously strong. And so we decided we would try to figure it out on the way to wherever this X was. And we kind of figured, we took some paper and we drew out like where the neighborhood is now with all the houses. And we figured out that X didn't seem to be near where we went in, but we were going to go back to where we went in anyway and see if it kind of lined up. So we went back over to that area, and we start walking up, and Bobby's like, stop. And he whispers it, and he pushes everybody back. And he's like, get down. And so we're going, what? What happened? What? And he points, and we look over to where we had gone into this cavern, and we see 3 adults standing there. And there were 2 guys and an older lady, and she's yelling something at them, and one of them is starting to move the rock. And Dell looks over at Bobby. He goes, the Fratellis. Bum, bum, bum. And we all look at each other. We're like, no way. I've heard of them. They're bad people. And Eric's like, they're going to get our treasure, and we won't get our houses. And so all of a sudden, Bobby stands up, and he goes like around the corner and tries to get their attention. But by then, they had already moved the rock and gone into the cave. And so we're all just like shoulders slumped going, oh no, what are we going to do? Well, Dell's like, well, how are they going to get across? They can't either. So instead, we decided we'd push the rock back. I don't think it's going to do anything to stop them, but it might slow them down when they try to come back. So we pushed the rock back, and we're like, now what do we do? And then I said, well, why don't we try to figure out where this X goes? Maybe that's where the real treasure is or something. And Bobby's like, no, it's probably the X and the ship's underground under it. So I said, well, why don't we try? So we did. And we finally, it took a long time, because remember, when the map was made, there were no buildings or anything. It was just woods and trees and whatever. So we finally figured out it was the old Jones family restaurant that was closed down like years ago, and it's just cobwebs and mice and spiders in the old rotten building now. And we're like, I'm not going in there. And of course, Bobby's oldest. He's like, it's fine. Let's just go. Don't be a wimp. And so we finally decided, okay, we'll go in there and look. But we get in there, and of course, it's just dust and cobwebs. There's nothing really indicative of any kind of treasure or anything. And so this room we're standing in had, like I said, it was an old restaurant. It had, like the old tables and chairs, and then the kitchen area. But there's a beautiful, well, used to be a beautiful fireplace in the middle that nobody ever paid attention to. Just when we ate in there, it was just a fireplace, right? And so we looked around, didn't find anything. And finally, Cindy's just starts crying again. She sits down on the area where the fireplace is, and then almost falls because the bricks are, old and they fell off. And I go over to help her, and I pick her up, and I put the brick back, and I hear something move like a bzz sort of thing. And I look at in the inside of the fireplace, and I notice like a crack in it. And so I reached in and I pushed when I leaned over, I pushed on one of the bricks, and the door opened. There was a door in the fireplace. And of course, it's nasty. It's got like soot and ashes. But we were all so desperate to save our houses. We're just like, maybe we should go in there anyway. And remember, there's like all kinds of spiders and all stuff. Like, would you go in there? No, but we were just desperate. We didn't know what to do. Our parents apparently didn't tell us all this was happening. We just found out because of that letter. So we decided we're going to go. And we went in there, and it was this huge, like, tunnel thing with left and right. And so we're walking and walking, and finally we get to this other, like, hole, like a little doorway. And it's blocked. It's like a wooden door. So we try to open it. It's just really stuck. And you know, it's like pushing. You have to push on it really, really hard. And so finally, we all just kind of, as a group, like ran and put our shoulders into it. Push, and it didn't do anything. Push, and it didn't. And so we're like, okay, on three, all of us. 1, 2, 3, push. The door swings open, and we all fall right through, and it's this huge slide. And we start going down and down, and it was like the longest slide. But it was scary, but it was fun. Do you know what I mean? Like, because we weren't expecting it.
Like my first Everest ride?
Yeah, like Everest. It was fun, but unexpected, right? And so we end up coming down to the end, and we all land, and we're all just in this pile, and a couple people are laughing, a couple people are freaking out, you know.
Couple? That means 3.
Yeah, well, Bobby and Dell were laughing. I think Eric and I were probably freaking out, and the girls were just kind of silent, not sure what to do. But we look, and of course it's dark, and we start to grab our flashlights, but then Bobby's like, stop, again. And we look, and we realize we're on the other side of the cavern, but there's flashlights on the side that we had gone in before. Guess who it is, right? Those Fratellis. And so he's like, don't make any noise and don't turn the lights on or they'll see us. And so we're like, well, how are we supposed to get out of here? We came down a slide and we can't go back up. And he's like, I don't know. We'll have to figure that out. But for now, we just have to crawl in the dark, which of course was kind of scary, right? And we know that we saw the pirate ship. We don't know what direction it was in. We don't know. We could have walked off a cliff, so we had to crawl like really slow just to see if we could figure out where we were. After about an hour of this, we really hadn't gone very far, but the Fratellis finally gave up, or at least had planned to come back. I don't know. And the flashlights disappeared. Presumably, they went back up the thing. So we turn our flashlights on, and we realize we were on this very slim line of rocks that whole time. Any one of us could have fallen off. And we're like, holy smokes, boy, are we lucky. But not only were we lucky for that, we were very lucky because there's a post with a giant rope on it that we could throw across to the other side from our side. So, problem still is that we had to not just throw the rope, but we had to make it to the pole to the other side to get it to wrap around. And that is the end of part 2. Part 3 tomorrow.
Okay, how many parts are there going to be?
I don't know, but that's our 15-minute mark. You want to say goodnight, or you want to just end it for now?
Good night.
Good night.
And by the way, Dad, you're not putting me to bed tomorrow. Mom, Pinky promised me she would.
Okay, well, I'll finish it, or I'll tell the